10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
Deep to right field at the warning track. See ya.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
At the buzzer.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Huge win for Oregon.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
A lot to get to today. Going to take a lot of your comments and questions, and I'm going to apologize up front because Rob Moseley and I will be maskless here in the studio today, so that means you have to look at a face for newspaper and a face for radio again, all together in the same video box. I understand that we've done some quack minutes, but that's only for like 3, 4, 5 seconds when we're on screen, and then Scott, will put some highlights over us, which is how it should be. But today, you're going to be stuck with us unless Scott has a bunch of graphics he's going to show. I don't know what he has in store for everybody today. So here we are, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit more about basketball season. We were talking about this on Monday, It's unfortunate that we're sitting here kind of doing the basketball season wrap-up, but also it's still a pair of 20-win seasons. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk with Rob about that coming up and go through the Oregon basketball season, the season that was, which I know they don't want to be in the NIT. They don't want to be losing in the second round of the NIT and then kind of going, gosh, feels like could have had a better year than that. I get it. I totally understand. I think that everybody feels that way. It was still a 20-15 campaign. They went 11-9 in conference action, and they had a couple really nice wins early in the season. And I want to spend some time and kind of go through in depth for you. And we also have our highlights, the top plays of the year, as put together by Scott Phillips in video form, and as I guess called by me, but I don't know. You're always going to be overly critical of yourself in these moments, right? Rob Moseley, though, coming up, will kind of do a deep dive because he was with the Oregon women's team. I traveled with the men, of course, and Rob traveled with the Oregon women's team along with Terry Johns and the rest of the crew. So he's going to have a little bit more of a perspective on that. How about Oregon baseball last night at Gonzaga? A nice win over the number 19 team in the country. They took down the Zags on the road in Spokane. A 9-5 win. Ducks with double-digit hits again. Seems like they're getting double-digit hits pretty much every single game at this point. Ducks are 4th in batting average nationally. Pretty legit for Oregon baseball. They've hit multiple home runs now in a significant number of straight games, and I don't want to say that number out loud because, well, it's officially baseball season, and I don't want to jinx anything, and I don't want Mark Wasikowski to come tearing into this door and telling me to stop talking. Unfortunately, that would be bad radio. 4 o'clock against USC. The Ducks will be back at home this weekend. We've got the call Jordan and I do for you on the Oregon Sports Network. Also some finalists for the Senior Class Award. We're going to tell you about that. Men's golf, men's tennis in action, women's golf, a check-in there, and a new addition to the baseball rule book that I want to spend a little bit of time on here today. All right, let's go through the Oregon men's basketball schedule. Okay, everybody go back in time with me. Fans were back at Matthew Knight Arena. Does everybody, when I was going through the schedule, and I have kind of my notes here in front of me of what happened in each of these games, just everybody think back to November 9th. It's a Tuesday. The season's opening. Texas Southern is in town. We're doing Duck Insider here, and then it was a 4 o'clock tip-off against Texas Southern. Really fast setup, and it was the first time that fans were back in there. That was not that long ago. First time that basketball fans were back in the arena. And the Ducks played really well against Texas Southern. They beat them. Then they beat an SMU team that was squarely on the bubble pretty much with the Ducks all season long, and they beat them 86-63. Following those first two games, it was like, man, this team looks good. Even though they had kind of a rough offseason, they didn't necessarily get the workouts that they wanted with the big men being banged up, but they looked like they could hit some shots, looked like they were going to be pretty darn good early in the year. They generated turnovers in both of those games. Well, then they got a little bit of a reality check. They went up to Portland for that 7 o'clock tip against BYU on November 16th. It was an 81-49 beatdown from BYU. That was one of the longest post-game conversations I have ever heard Dane Altman have. And I don't mean the post-game conversation with me on the radio or with the general media when he went into the interview room. In fact, he was in the locker room for, I believe, 42 minutes after that game concluded, which is a long time. And I actually had gotten off the air. I had run out of things to say. And so I just said, Coach, I get it. You don't lose by 32 points. It doesn't happen at Oregon. I understand. So that was kind of the, okay, now what's going to happen going to Vegas? Ducks were a little down. They started kind of slow against Chaminade and then ended up winning that game 73-49, but ran into a really good St. Mary's team. That game I will never forget. On the Tuesday before Thanksgiving in Vegas, it was like death by 1,000 paper cuts because St. Mary's only ended up winning the game by 12, but it just felt like Oregon was stuck in the mud, and St. Mary's was winning the game. And then they played a Houston team who's in the Sweet 16 and lost that one. And so it was a little bit of a soul-searching turkey day, I think, for Oregon basketball. Well, then they came home. They got it done against Montana. They got it done against UC Riverside. And then Pac-12 play began. Remember, 20-game schedule began this year. Well, last year it really began. But this year, the 20-game schedule stayed a thing. And so you had a Pac-12 opener on December 5th, a Sunday in Eugene. Lost in overtime to Arizona State. The Ducks were without Eric Williams in that game. It was kind of the beginning of guys being in and out of the rotation. Felt like Oregon in December just never really got comfortable with their rotation. Similarly, after finals week, they go on the road to Stanford, end up giving up a 3 with a bad defensive rotation. They lose the game by 3 points. Dallaire hit it at the buzzer. They're 0-2 in Pac-12 play for the first time in forever. Soul-searching. Came back and beat Portland. And then I think where the season showed a bright spot was against Baylor. That was, for a long time this season, the only game where Oregon out-rebounded its opposition and still lost the game. There was one critical, and Baylor was ranked number 1 at the time, there was one critical 8-0 run that the Bears went on in that game, and I will never forget that. Because it felt like that it was the kind of game where as soon as a team had a big run in the second half, they were going to win. And that's exactly what happened. Baylor ended up winning. But I thought that Oregon, we all learned a lot about this team in that Baylor game. We learned that they're capable when they're healthy, when they're playing good defense, when they're rebounding well, they could beat anybody. They beat Pepperdine, and in that Pepperdine game, it was the Nate Biddle coming out party. He had 4 blocks in that game, kind of sparked the Ducks, and you're thinking, okay, heading into the holiday break, you feel pretty good. And then the Ducks felt really good after beating Utah. They had to reschedule their Colorado game, but they beat Utah by 13 points in Eugene to get their first Pac-12 win. And then the Ducks, unfortunately, had to go on a COVID pause themselves. Remember that? They didn't play Colorado, went on a COVID pause themselves. Will Richardson doesn't practice. And then he comes in on a Monday. Game was originally set to be played on Saturday. Comes in on a Monday, plays Oregon State. Ducks get the win 78-76 in what was just like a through-the-blender type of ball game. And I say that because it just felt like everything was choppy the whole time. Well, the Ducks were able, though, to get the victory. They got the win. They got the win that they had to get against Oregon State. And then it was the highlight of the season, I think. They go on the road. They beat UCLA in overtime against number 3 UCLA. Then they beat number 5 USC, and it wasn't close. They pretty much led that game wire to wire. Back-to-back top 5 road wins for the first time since 1976. That's what the Ducks did that weekend against UCLA and USC. Came home, beat Washington, and then this was where the inconsistency cropped back up for the Ducks, and it sort of became the only consistent thing about the season was the inconsistency. They lose to a Colorado team that had lost 5 of 6. The only one that they were able to win was an Oregon team that didn't play well. They lost to Colorado at home. Able to get Oregon State at home, and then in typical Oregon basketball this season fashion, they get the first win in Boulder in program history about a week after they had lost to Colorado at home, which hadn't happened, I think, since 2013. It was just, that was the season. That was the way this entire season went. And the inconsistency continued. They lost to Cal at home. Lost to Arizona State, bad in Tempe. Then played Arizona as tough as anybody has played Arizona this year. Ended up losing by 3 points. That was when Will Richardson got hit in the eye. Ducks come home. They beat UCLA. Then they lose the heartbreaker with the Drew Peterson 3 to USC. Will Richardson had banged his head in that game. They go on the road and they lose to Washington and Washington State. As I go through that entire season, it's just the up and down roller coaster all the way through, right? I mean, that was this entire season. It kind of continued in Vegas. Ducks looked really good against Oregon State, didn't look as good against Colorado. They looked pretty good against Utah State, didn't look as good against Texas A&M. And there's your season. It's amazing how that can happen with the inconsistency throughout the course of a basketball season. We've got our top plays, the plays of the year for you coming up. Rob Moseley's here, though. The editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com is going to join us to get his thoughts on basketball. And is he ready to talk basketball? What do you think, Rob? He caught it. I can confirm basketball was caught. That ball is flat, yeah. We're back after this talking with Rob on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Thanks for calling Toyota. This is Jan. How can I help?
Hey, Jan. Say, is now a good time for a new Toyota?
You bet it is. Now through April 4th is the perfect time to shop for a RAV4, Tundra, Tacoma, Corolla, and more. Imagine yourself in a RAV4. Where would you go first?
Skinny Al's Barbecue.
I'm imagining you inviting me.
Let your imagination run wild at your participating Toyota dealer. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Rob, I want you to know that I started the show today apologizing to everybody for the same thing that you said heading into last week. It's a face for newspaper and a face for radio. Welcome back, buddy. Good to see your face. How are you?
Is it?
It's good to see your face.
Is it?
It's good for me to see your face. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm glad that I can read your lips now.
I had some stuff that I was going to bring into the office today because I haven't been in a couple days. I haven't been in a while, actually. Not unusual. Let's just say I'm not at my desk as much as some other people.
But your office is wherever the sporting event is taking
place.
Metaverse. Well, don't say that.
Okay. Wow. I had some stuff I was going to bring in, and then I was like filling my pockets, putting my wallet and my phone in my pockets, and there was a mask sitting there, and I was like, I don't have to bring that in.
That's true.
And that put me on tilt, so I forgot to bring all this other stuff in that I was supposed to bring in. Because I was just bebopping along, I don't have to bring the mask in. And then as soon as I pulled into the parking lot here, I was like, oh, you moron.
The fact that you just used the word bebopping in a sentence today, I did not expect that That's well done by Rob
I don't
Moseley.
think that's an SAT word.
No, and I was actually about to say what is our SAT word for the fans today? Do you have one off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but you never know.
You might get there by the end of the interview.
Correct.
All right. He's Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com, on Twitter at GoDucksMoseley, at DuckFootball. Let's talk a little bit of round ball. You know, unfortunately, you and I are sitting here on the 23rd of March, and we're kind of doing the season review. That's been rare the last few years. Normally, we're not doing the season review together until April, and that's how it should be. Yeah. Right? That's what you want. So I'll start with this. You were on the trip with the women. Take fans through it. I mean, what was the process like? And after a tough loss, the return trip, I don't know. Just give fans the perspective.
Well, man, okay. Yeah. So we left Tuesday, right?
Boy, you're asking the wrong guy.
It seems like a long time ago. It was just, that game was just, Kelly Graves said it. It was just a microcosm of the season. It just, I think both the men and the women, you felt like sometimes that the sum was less than the whole of the parts.
Yeah.
Both cases, you look at the individual players and their skill sets, and so we're talking the women and we're talking about, when you have Niara Sabali in the post with Sedona Prince and Kylie Watson giving you, filling certain roles. The way Sedona can stretch the floor is big. The way Kylie Watson plays, brings some energy, particularly defensively. Behind Niara, when you have, a couple wing players, a Sydney Parrish who can be a really good three-point shooter. When you have playmaking guards like Tahina Paupau and India Rogers, when you have, a guard off the bench like Maddie Shearer that you can bring defensively, Elise Hurst who can guard and make some threes, Shania Pinto who can bring some energy off the bench. You look at all those different roles and say, man, you combine that into a team and you feel like you check every box, and yet it never worked out that way.
Didn't click.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you probably know better than I. The men probably feel the same way. In terms of what you need as far as contributions from a roster to a successful season, you feel like you have guys who can do all the things you need, and yet somehow that puzzle never fit together right. And so frustrating. I mean, it's been a wild year. I mean, to be one of the few Power 5 teams to win 10 football games, win 20 men's basketball games, win 20 women's basketball games.
Good stat pool, by the way.
I think we're up to 5 now. I think
but still,
Kentucky and Ohio State joined the club.
Good stat pool.
It is awesome. And then to say it was a somewhat frustrating season for all three and you still achieved that is great. But it just the symmetry of the basketball seasons, first of all, was ridiculous. But then even the football season, I mean, all three, you felt like probably 2/3 of the way into the year, you were like, whoa, there could be some big things ahead. And then for all three to kind of leave you with kind of a bad taste in your mouth the way things ended, it's been a frustratingly similar path for all those teams, and hopefully that doesn't carry over to like spring.
It's always interesting for me doing this show every day. Like, I feel like it's fair to say that you and I have a good pulse of kind of how fans are feeling. We probably have a better pulse of how coaches are feeling. And the fact that both Dana Altman, Kelly Graves come on to the post-game interviews and say, hey, this is not where we want to be.
Right.
And yet you're still talking about an overall successful program, another 20-win season for both teams. I don't know, Rob. I'm curious your perspective on this, because I sit here and I say those things like, okay, yeah, we're upset, but still a good year. But also, like, isn't that cool that fans are to the point now where they're like, yeah, that's great, but also, like, just like the coaches, they don't really want to hear that either. It speaks a lot of volumes to where things are.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want any apathy. I'd rather have people who are frustrated than are apathetic.
Right.
So, and we have to be honest with ourselves too. 10 wins in football, 20 in basketball doesn't mean what it did 15 years ago.
For sure.
So, we could be guilty of sort of some outdated thinking there. I mean, you play extra games now in all three realms that it's 20-12 is a lot different than 20-7,
But there's still only 5 in the country that did it.
Exactly. Totally. And there were a couple more that potentially could go on runs and join that club. But yeah, 5 Power 5 programs to achieve that. That's enviable balance. So yeah, it's two things can be true at the same time.
Sure.
It can have been solid seasons on all three fronts that were also just very frustrating at a lot of times, including at the end in all three cases too. So, and then now you enter the unknown of the off season with, the portal and all that other stuff. Just it used to be you kind of felt like you knew what was coming back and you're excited, and now it's like, whoa, who knows what we're going to look like next year.
To that point, for example, you always would do like the position reviews and still do on GoDucks.com, right, for football.
Right.
It's a lot harder to do those.
Oh,
now.
yeah. They're like being live updated, like, oh, that guy's leaving. Oh,
right.
We're getting this guy. Yeah, totally.
Like doing the rotation projection of like who's going to play minutes next year for both basketball teams. I don't think you and I could even do it right now.
No. I think it's a fruitless endeavor because you do have two programs that feel like, hey, what we did last year wasn't it.
Right.
For as solid as it was missing, some significant thing.
Sure.
And that has to be addressed too. Coaches aren't gonna just sit idly by and say, we'll just hope it's better.
Yeah.
So
one thing though that is consistent, speaking about the women and then the way that there were some similarities. I mean, the men and the women both had to go through some staff changes for the first time in a while last year.
Yep.
And it looks like it's a little more consistent for the women, but now here we are. The men, Chris Crutchfield getting a chance to go back to his alma mater. That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and then that might have been an area where Dane Altman felt like there maybe some change was necessary, and now his hand is forced. But it was wild. I mean, both teams. It was inconsistent three-point shooting.
Yeah.
Lack of a kind of a go-to. You need a bucket. Who are you going to? I think the women probably felt a little better on that front with Niara Sabally. But even she had a frustrating last game where, she was 12 of 24 and it felt like she could have been about 19 of 24, or 21 of 24. Just a couple, some shots weren't falling at the rim that you thought might go. So, both of them kind of that January surge where you felt like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
This is it again.
And then February just wasn't it. Start spinning your wheels again. It was just remarkably similar.
Who you got winning the whole thing on the women's side?
Probably South Carolina.
Yeah. That's who I picked too.
I picked UConn.
Did you? Okay.
I kind of got caught up in the, Paige Beckers is
She's back.
They were playing good at the end. They know how to win. But now I feel like I might have
You're revising heading into the...
I bought into some narrative right before the tournament that maybe I shouldn't have. We'll see, though.
You can revise into the Sweet 16.
I write my bracket in ink.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, ask Seth Davis about writing it in Sharpie.
True. Yeah.
Didn't work out a couple times.
Has it been multiple times?
It's only one time, I think.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to happen again.
Yeah.
Basketball's a weird sport.
We have someone on staff now. KJ, our strength coach for women's basketball and softball, went to UMBC.
All right.
So, yeah, go Terriers.
That's right. Still the only 16 seed to ever get that win. And then Virginia kind of, exercised that demon the following year and won a national championship.
Did they win? Come back and win the next year?
Yeah, they beat us.
Oh.
That was in Louisville. That Virginia team.
Was that a Sweet 16 game?
Yes.
I think I was with the women.
You
watching that. I think I remember the restaurant I was watching that game in.
Good. Good place?
Well, we lost the game.
Okay, so not a good place.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, no, that
sticks out much more than the food.
I contend, actually, talking
Were we
about
in Portland then?
You guys might have been. I don't remember.
I don't either.
But the men's team though was in Louisville.
Yeah.
And it was after as they had made that run through the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
And that Virginia team ended up beating that Oregon team by 4 points. And I believe, I'll have to double check this.
It was like 50-46 or something.
It was 53-49.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that I thought Oregon played them as tough as anybody else in the tournament that year. And Virginia ended up winning the whole thing.
Was that 19?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were in Portland because that's when the women were in Portland won in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four.
I think so, yeah. If the years line up. And that was the year that the men won 4 in 4 days in Vegas.
Right.
And then went to San Jose, beat Wisconsin, got there, and But it's funny because I was talking about similarities actually for the men to that team, right? Like they could make that run. They have the talent. They have the pieces. So now on the men's side, in order to capture that momentum again, the offseason is really critical. Dane Altman made no bones about that.
Well, a big point about that 19 team was for as much people as people are talking about, this is the most frustrating season ever. Like 18 was a really frustrating year. Like,
and
you
so
wanna,
was 19. Everyone forgets until that 10-game winning streak.
Totally.
That was a frustrating year.
Francis Okoro kind of jumpstarts the whole team. But, the year before, again, you talk about a team where it felt like the parts just didn't all add up. Because was that Troy Brown and Elijah Brown.
Lost to Marquette in the second round of the NIT.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, how soon I see people like, this is by far the most frustrating year under Dana Altman. Well, 18 was almost a carbon copy of this season in my mind.
It was, and especially, you want to know how even more carbon copy it was? When we knew that it was like, this could be rough, it was on the Washington road trip.
Which was like 18, yeah.
Actually, it was like 19 too. They lost in Pullman, the men did, and then went to Vegas. So I mean, but I think it's.
But to your point though, the 19 season sort of gets the frustrations of 18 set the stage for. It reminds me when I was talking with Luke Jackson for the podcast I did with him a few weeks ago. Like the frustrations they experienced in 2001 set the stage for their Elite Eight run in 2002.
Sure.
Yesterday, 20-year anniversary of the win over Texas that got them in the Elite Eight. Tomorrow's the anniversary of the loss to Kansas.
Boy, that puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
20 friggin' years.
But that also, in the overall scheme of things, wasn't that long ago.
I know. But it was. Tell that to a kid who's 25.
I get that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Ryan's sitting here just like, no, I don't remember.
You guys are old,
what
bro.
You're talking about. Ryan was, 3 years old? No, you were 6 years old. No, I was younger than that. Okay.
2002? 2002 season.
He was 1 year old.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I was 9.
I turned 25 that year. I could rent a car that year.
I think that you've been 29 for a number of years.
Touche.
Yeah.
So I was older then than you are now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He's Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. But the offseason is important. I mean, I remember that 18 season, Coach Altman was like, we're going to review – I could have played up my post-game conversation with Coach Altman after they lost to Marquette.
Yeah.
And it would have sounded very similar to the post-game conversation that we had after Texas A&M. And it was, hey, the offseason didn't go like we wanted.
Right.
A lot of new faces, didn't have everything click, coming off a Final Four year.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And then, here we are. So the offseason is going to be important. What the roster looks like, we'll find out.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be the key, I think.
But there's so many repercussions from the pandemic, too, in terms of guys not being able to be in the gym as much as they would be, not being able to be in the weight room probably as much as they would be. And so you just, you just hope for some normalcy to kind of get things back on track, back in the routine, back to that formula that worked for both programs for so long. Both here and for both Kelly Graves and Dana Altman prior to getting to Oregon. I mean, they both have this long track record of success. They know what works. They're both deeply frustrated by their results also, but by just their routine being upset the last couple years. And if they can just get back to that formula they know that works, that's what gives you reason for optimism, that both these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah. A couple questions, and I want to say, like, for recruiting and all those things, Rob and I can't talk about that. We can't sit here and speculate on what recruits and transfer portals and everything are going to look like. But I think it's safe to say that everyone's keeping track of that. Coaches are keeping track of it.
No doubt.
Everybody's looking at it.
No doubt.
But some of the guys, though, that I will tell you that have committed to, for example, Oregon men's basketball, they're really excited about this group.
No doubt.
They're really excited about it because you got a mix of JC guys, you got a mix of young, really high-end talent guys. I have honestly not spent a lot of time with the coaches talking about them, but now that we're in the offseason, it's like, okay, next era, right?
Yeah.
Next wave. That's kind of what we're at right now.
Yeah, my understanding for the men is, that guard, Dior Johnson?
Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of has that alpha personality that you felt like that you needed, that you want. Can a freshman come in and take control of a team? We'll see. That's a delicate thing, but that's what your coaching staff is there to do, to kind of help that transition if they think he's the guy. And I think that they think the big kid, the freshman, is just out of this world. Yeah,
he is out of this world.
You look at some of the talent, the returning talent up front potentially, and it's big time.
Yeah, I'm excited. So there you go. That's basketball season. What else you doing these days?
Well, I got some lacrosse and acro on Friday.
Yeah.
I got some softball on Saturday, baseball on
Number
Sunday.
2 versus number 3 for acro this week.
Yeah.
Big one. They're 1 and 2
this
year.
Big one, yeah. I think we got kind of a slow start to the acro season. I think their preseason training was upset a little bit by COVID stuff, and So, a big chance for them to prove that they're kind of, we were talking with women's basketball in January, like that was kind of November for them,
right.
Because some people have been hurt. They kind of were back in just their build up to the season had been delayed. I think Acro probably felt that way a little bit too.
No doubt.
So now is their chance to say, okay, are you kind of rounding into form, which you need to be. I mean, it's not a long season, so
Cal,
good test for them.
Cal, by the way, for women's lacrosse at 5 o'clock on Friday, we're actually working to try to schedule time to talk with Coach Hoffman because they're coming off a win, feeling pretty good. I'm excited to see the growth of that team because you talk about a program that had some problems during COVID.
Yeah,
that was one. Their roster was limited. I'll put it that way. And I mean, I'm excited for the growth of that program.
They play hard.
They really do.
Even when they lose, I mean, it's been like 15-13, and they're trading goals down the stretch. So they've had some games where they fell behind by 5 or 6, and they closed the gap and turn it into 2 or 3, and I feel like there's a chance to win. I mean, that team plays really, really hard, and Cal and Stanford. There's probably one probably feels a little bit more gettable than the other going into this weekend. So Friday's a golden opportunity to beat a conference opponent, capture some momentum coming off that win, and then if you can sustain that Friday, take your shot against Stanford.
Why not?
Yeah.
Also the Jane,
swing away.
PK Park.
Yep.
Swing away. Thank you, Dane Altman.
Yeah. Swing away.
Well done. I got to let you go on
Bend
that
your
one.
knees.
That was well done.
Yeah.
Sometimes you.
Right. Always us.
Attaboy. Rob Moseley is the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. Busy weekend. A lot of home events going on this weekend, so be checking in on GoDucks.com. Rob's the curator. He's going to make sure that everything is spelled correctly. And
Whoa.
That's the truth.
Yeah. I'll fix it when somebody else points out that there's a typo. And then next week, football's back.
That's right. Football is back. When's first spring practice? What should fans look forward to?
I think it's Tuesday.
Tuesday? All right.
Right? 29th?
I honestly, I couldn't tell you off the top
I think that's right. And then pro days next week. I'll be gone.
It's in the calendar.
Are you going to L.A.?
So, yes.
I'm going to L.A.
Yeah. With baseball?
Baseball and softball are both down there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one day, one Friday, both Saturday, one Sunday.
All right.
And then I'm trying to finagle hopping off the plane in the Bay Area on the way back and covering women's golf in Napa.
Like it.
On the back end of that trip. I don't know if it's going to work.
I like it. Well,
if anybody knows of cheap lodging in Napa.
There's a will, there's a way. Oh, in Napa?
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Can you sleep at the winery?
I mean, I'm sure some people have.
I don't think
they call that passing out, though.
I don't think we want that. Yeah, then I'll be down there in L.A. It's going to be a good time.
Sounds good.
All right, we're going to get a timeout. Kept Rob a lot longer than I usually do, so thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate the
absolutely.
time. Top plays of the year for men's basketball. The highlights. That's next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece. And it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Thanks again to Rob Moseley for taking the time to join us. I did not know that he was going to be making the dual trip because both Oregon baseball and Oregon softball are on the road in Los Angeles on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the following weekend. This weekend, Oregon softball, it's a good weekend against Cal. Former Oregon assistant coach Chelsea Spencer is the head coach. Also, a friend of Nikki Reagan's. She coached Nikki when Nikki was playing shortstop for the Ducks. And, well, we talked to Nikki on the show yesterday, and there's just going to be some friendly competition, I think, going on amongst Oregon and Cal softball this weekend at the Jane. It's going to be a good weekend of softball. And then for baseball, talk a little bit more about them in a moment because they've got a 4 o'clock start against USC. That's a big series. Ducks are pacing the Pac-12 conference right now. They got to stay atop those Pac-12 standings. Going to be tough against a pretty good USC team, against, by the way, another former Oregon assistant coach. Jason Gill is the head coach for the USC Trojans. He was actually George Horton's first assistant coaching hire, but then got the job at Loyola Marymount before the Ducks actually played a game at PK Park. Because remember, they had a year of practicing before they played games with the rebirth of the baseball program at Oregon. Jason Gill was the first hire for George Horton. Now he's the head coach at USC. A lot of connections. This is not a very big industry that we all work in. Baseball last night was a fun one. We'll get to that in a moment, but I do want to bring you inside the Oregon basketball season. Earlier, we brought you our Oregon Imaging Center's Inside Look, proud to sponsor University of Oregon Athletics. Established in 1993, Oregon Imaging Centers reminds you that you have a choice in your medical imaging provider. Choose Oregon Imaging Centers. Choice is yours. Our choice right now is to play the highlights for you. Oregon men's basketball, the plays of the year. Now Young, up the floor, got it to go! What a job by Jacob Young. Bounce pass underneath, turned over. Williams at the buzzer. Oh! He hit it! Three-quarter court, Eric Williams. How do you like that going to the halftime? Clark looking to run the floor and is blocked from behind by Kepnon. Big block. Now Dante sets a screen. Young slices through the defense into the lane and high off the glass for two. Ducks get the win. Oregon takes down number 3 UCLA in Poly. And dribbling ahead, pulls up for three. Got it! From the top, Richardson leading all scorers with 26. Trying to get inside, does. Pass underneath, Dante! Dunk! The Ducks down USC for a back-to-back top 5 win on the road. Now Young underneath, Dante! Dunk! Bounce pass underneath and volley. Dante flushes it. Off back to Clark, he runs in. Blocked by Kepner! Swatted away by Frank the Tank. Bounce pass underneath, Kepner! Slam! Richardson from the right wing, fires and hits the three. 6 points for Richardson, his 1,000th career point in an Oregon uniform. To Silva, inside, blocked against the backboard by Kepnong. Now Richardson pulling up, long three, bang! Now Young lobs it, Eric Williams slam! Into the paint, Shulga blocked by Kepnong. Oregon takes down Utah State here in Logan, and the 300th win as the Oregon head coach for Dana Altman. Some pretty cool moments. Will Richardson, 1,000 career point scorer. Dana Altman, 300 wins. The winningest head coach in Oregon men's basketball history. And he's not done yet. The Ducks, though, not where they wanted to be at the end of the season. And that's how things came to a close. So where do they go from here? I know a lot of people wondering, like Rob and I were talking about, the roster. I don't know what the roster is going to look like. I think over the next few weeks, though, we'll have a lot more clarity. I see all the same reports in social media that you do. I'm curious to see what the roster looks like. I'm also curious to see what Dana Altman does with that assistant coach spot. Congratulations again for Chris Crutchfield. I'm so happy for Chris Crutchfield to get a chance to go be the head coach at his alma mater at Nebraska Omaha. Ducks are looking for a new assistant coach now as well. So Dana Altman and his staff, going to be a busy offseason for the Ducks. There's no doubt about that. When we return, let's talk a little Oregon baseball. The Ducks with a top 20 win last night. Oregon feeling pretty good, I think, right now. Their offense, next level. We're back talking baseball next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Attention Student Rocket League gamers. The $125,000 Level Next Rocket League Spring Showcase is back, and free entry is now open. Rep your school in the Level Next Rocket League Spring Showcase to win the championship trophy, ring, and part of the $125,000 prize pool. Like this opportunity, food is too good to be wasted. With Best Foods, you can save more and waste less food. Hashtag make taste, not waste. Registration closes March 27th. Sign up now at levelnextesports.com.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s, like go back to college, learn to skateboard. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. At aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a free 3-minute chat with the friendly digital retirement coach, Avo, and receive personalized tips to help boost your savings. Start chatting with Avo today at aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack. We're going to talk a little bit of football coming up in just a little while. The Ducks with a cool announcement around the spring game. Stick with us. Also talking a little baseball. The Ducks are hosting USC this weekend, 4, 2, and noon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's deals on beer and hot dogs and everything else, by the way. We will have a 3:45 pregame show for you on Friday from PK Park. Yesterday, though, in Spokane, Oregon scored 8 runs in the first 4 innings, held off a little bit of a late surge from number 19 Gonzaga to pick up the 9-5 road victory. Gonzaga, number 19, they're 14-5 and they're 3-0 in the WCC so far this year, but the Ducks handing them their 5th loss. Oregon's now 14-6 and 5-1 in Pac-12 play. That is pacing the top of the Pac-12 standings right now. 4th straight win for the Ducks and the 6th straight over the Bulldogs, actually, of Gonzaga. Though Coach Machtofik at Gonzaga, I'm telling you, has put together a really good program over the last few years. But the Ducks, I think this is the game where it confirms my feeling that the Ducks should have been ranked. Do they really care that they're ranked right now? I don't know. You just kind of want it to be normal that you're in the top 25 all the time, right? Like, it shouldn't be a thing. It should only be a thing when you're not ranked. And the Ducks aren't ranked right now. I think a win over Gonzaga, though, if they take care of business against USC at home, feel pretty good about Oregon being ranked here at the end of the season. Tanner Smith led the way for the Ducks last night. He went 2 for 4 with 2 RBI, a double and a home run. Brennan Malone, Jacob Walsh both went 3 for 5. Walsh added 3 ribbies, also hit a solo home run. Ducks got out to that early lead, and they continue to do this. More often than not, Oregon's jumping out to early leads. But the offense is so good that even when they haven't jumped out to early leads, they've made late-inning comebacks. It's been pretty impressive to watch. Smith, though, that hot streak for him, that solo home run came in the 2nd inning. Anthony Hall extended the lead with a sacrifice fly in the 3rd, and the Ducks broke the game open in the 4th. Ultimately got up 8-2, and it felt like they had it in hand at that point. Sam Nowitzki led off an inning with a single. He continues to be a regular for this Duck team. Sacrifice bunt, Ducks scored 4 runs on 4 straight hits and kind of put things out of reach. Now, Oregon's bullpen made the lead stand up the rest of the way because the Ducks did run into a little bit of trouble in the bottom of the 7th. They had 2 runs after multiple walks. It's always the walks. I think I just was Jake Angier's inner monologue right there. Like, you can't. Matt Dallas, though, ultimately came in, got a strikeout to keep Oregon in front, and he came in a huge spot and did what he needed to do. Matt Dallas, one of many guys for the Oregon bullpen that have really stepped up over the course of this season. I've been so impressed with Oregon's ability to maintain leads this year, especially because their starting staff, they're still searching for somebody that can give them a little bit of length in that starting rotation. But the way that Oregon has been able to kind of staff games in the late innings, this is one of them. It's been impressive to watch. Colby Summers came in to finish things off. A couple box score notes. Ducks have hit multiple home runs now in 5 straight games. That's the first time in the modern era that the Ducks have hit multiple home runs in 5 straight games. So again, they're 4th nationally in batting average. This team can hit, man. And everybody was talking about, at the beginning of the year, the ballpark and how the fences are in and it's going to play a little bit more true. But Mark Wasikowski, and I noticed this with Coach Wasikowski, every time he was asked about the ballpark and how things were playing and how things were working, he would say, well, yeah, the fences are in, but you're going to see an offensive club because this is an offensive club, because this team can really hit. And I at first I thought, well, it didn't stick out to me as much. I thought, yeah, of course he's going to say that his team can hit, right? But when asked about the ballpark, it was always, no, really, this team can really hit. We're seeing it. Now here we are approaching meaningful baseball games in the month of April as the Ducks are getting into the heart of Pac-12 play. They can really hit. Modern era record. 5 straight games with multiple home runs. Logan Mercado got the 3rd win in the last 4 games for the Ducks, by the way. In his last 4 games, 3 wins. Not bad. Picked up the 3rd win in the last 4 games. Brandon Malone has now he has a 4 straight multiple hit game streak, his 9th of the season and 11th of his career. So talk about a hot streak for that guy. And Tanner Smith had his 3rd straight multiple RBI game last night, running his career total up to 18. And Anthony Hall, his 4th multi-RBI game of the season and 14th of his career. The Ducks are just getting it in waves right now from their lineup. And when one guy's down, another guy steps up. It's a deep batting order that Oregon has right now. I'm really impressed. I continue to be impressed with this team. Early in the season, defense and starting pitching, a question. Defense has improved. The bullpen has really picked up the slack. What's the next step for the Ducks? It's finding somebody who can go a little longer than 1 2/3 innings. That's what Jacob Hughes did as the starter yesterday, and he walked 4 guys. Rio Britton, a really odd outing for Rio Britton. He went 2/3 of an inning, gave up a couple of runs. One of them was earned, and he walked 2. But what you love is that those are the only 2 guys in Oregon's pitching staff that walked anybody. Logan Mercado, Stone Chirby, Dylan Sabia, Christian Schifatelli, Matt Dallas, Colby Summers all came in and threw strikes. Didn't walk anybody. If this pitching staff continues to limit walks, I think they can get away with having to bullpen a lot of games. 4 o'clock on Friday, USC is in town. It's a big weekend for the Ducks. Again, though, 4th nationally right now in batting average. Not too bad. Yesterday, after we got off the air, the Senior Class Award was announced for a few Ducks. So what this is to be eligible, I'll just read it to you. To be eligible, a student athlete must be classified as an NCAA Division I senior and have notable achievements in 4 areas of excellence: community, classroom, character, and competition. Kyle Kasser, previously for Oregon baseball, was a finalist for this award. Third baseman Sam Nowitzki, left fielder Tanner Smith, and the closer Colby Summers are among the 30 candidates that were released yesterday. Nowitzki is one of the best student athletes in this department. A 3.65 GPA in business, has started more than 125 games during his 4 seasons at Oregon, collected over 130 hits, and he was a member of that all-regional team that the Ducks had last year when, unfortunately, they lost to LSU in that championship game. Nowitzki was a Cosida first-team All-District 8 honoree in 2020. He's a member of the Spring Academic Honor Roll in both 20 and 21. Spent time off the field taking part in Oregon's partnership with Team Impact. I think he hits all those 4 criteria, don't you think? Community, classroom, character, and competition. Now, Tanner Smith, a 3.22 GPA in political science, earned third-team collegiate baseball All-America honors in 2021. An All-American. Well, I think he's got it taken care of in competition. Last year, he hit .324, 5 home runs, and he had a Pac-12 best 24 doubles, which set a new Oregon single-season record for 2 baggers. He also got on base at a .417 clip. Not too bad. So I think he's taking care of business in competition is what I'm getting at. And he's also got a spot on the 2021 Dean's List. He's a leader off the field, taking part in O Heroes, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and Team Impact. I'm telling you, off the field, you won't find a student athlete that's more dedicated around these parts than Tanner Smith. And then finally, Colby Summers from Hillsboro, Oregon, has already graduated a degree in general social science, business, and is working on his master's in sports product management. He claimed first-team All-Pac-12 Conference honors, was an NCBWA All-America honor last season as an All-American, was a dominant closer. He was really, really good for the Ducks in 2021. The lefty finished with a 2-2 record, 3.08 ERA, had 11 saves, fanned 37 batters in just over 26 innings, ranked 3rd in the Pac-12 in saves, and he's 4th all-time in career saves at Oregon. Summers has been involved with Team Impact along with the O Heroes program and the Miracle League for Oregon baseball. Those 3 guys, I'm going to have to double-check this with Todd Miles, but I don't think Oregon's ever had 3 senior class nominees. And again, there's only 30 of these guys across the country. 3 of them are here at Oregon, in Colby Summers, Tanner Smith, and Sam Nowitzki. Now, certainly some of that is after baseball season, or I should say after your junior baseball season, you can go pro, right? And the Ducks have a lot of guys that have done that. But these guys are the epitome of student athletes. I think all 3 of them have a legit chance to win that senior class award, which is a true honor. It really is a pretty big honor. When we come back, some legends are returning to Autzen Stadium. Guys like DeAnthony Thomas, Haloti Ngata, Eric Armstead, and LaMichael James coming back. More on that in a second on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a country financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Spring game is coming up on April 23rd. We've got some honorary coaches returning to Autzen Stadium. Some legends will be back with us. Let's begin with DeAnthony Thomas. He's not half bad, is he?
Look out. Making a miss. He's in. Touchdown, DeAnthony Thomas and Oregon.
Great pressure by Nata.
Haloti Nata.
And strong.
Eric Armstead's coming back too.
Armstead, 4th sack of the day for Oregon. And it's the James Show.
Well, Michael.
Touchdown. James. Touchdown.
Spring game, April 23rd at 1 p.m. at Autzen Stadium. The honorary captains are going to be at Dat Black Mamba 13 in all capital letters. D'Anthony Thomas will be back, along with Haloti Nata, Eric Armstead, and LaMichael James. Pretty darn cool to see the legends returning to Autzen Stadium. I love that. I love the connections to the former players, and Dan Lanning has made that a real priority for his coaching staff and his program this year. 2-minute drill brought to you by Cafe Yum. The men's golf Duck Invitational. Final round, Oregon shot its best round of the tournament, finished 5th in the 32nd Duck Invitational played at Eugene Country Club. Ducks ended up at a 5-over 289 to move up from 8th to 5th in the final standings. Number 8, Washington won the event. Utah was 2nd, followed by number 3, Arizona State, and Oregon State tied at 869. The Ducks not super thrilled with their performance. Going to be honest with you, reading the quotes from Casey Martin, he's wanting the Ducks to bounce back, and they have to bounce back quickly because this weekend they're down in Stanford participating in the Goodwin. So the final round for the Duck Invitational, maybe a little motivation for Oregon men's golf. Men's tennis in action. They beat Nebraska today. Ducks had a tough loss against number 30 Tulsa over the weekend, finishing up that trip out to the Midwest, and they're coming back, and they beat Nebraska today. Congratulations to Neil Sheelander's team. Also, a quick update on Oregon women's golf. We've been talking about them a lot in the 21 to 2022 campaign. But just to put it in perspective, for the number 2 team in the country, they've already got 3 wins. And remember, they only participate in about 6 to 8 events, and then there's postseason. They've already got 3 wins. Top 5 finishes, Ducks are 7 for 7. They're always in the top 5 of every competition field, and there's oftentimes about 20. Yeah, there's like 20 different teams participating. Their competitive record right now is 81-13. The number 2 team in the country. I think we might be on a collision course with Oregon women's golf and Stanford, number 1 and number 2. A reminder that for Oregon women's golf, the Pac-12 championships are in Eugene. The Ducks are hosting the Pac-12 championships this year, and I think that it's safe to say Oregon's pretty darn excited about it. April 18th is when the Pac-12 championship begins at Eugene Country Club. Oregon golf will also be in action on Friday in the Ping ASU Invitational Silverado Showdown coming up the first weekend of April. That's your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill as we wrap things up. Cafe Yum restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington. Menus, nutrition info, always at cafeyum.com. I'm Joey Mack. It's a good Wednesday. Tomorrow on the show, Terry Johns joins us. See you then.
Is that a faucet running?
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad.